there are really three opportunities that we have today. And so we always have people who join into our webinars who are not yet using Fundraise Up. So this is going to be a great opportunity to see how you can use our integration with Double the Donation to double your donations for year-end giving here. And then we, of course, have Fundraise Up customers who are not yet using this integration. And this is a great opportunity to see how this can work really well for you. And then we, of course, have customers in today's webinar that are already using the Double the Donation integration, but might be looking for some wisdom on best practices about how to use it here for the big year-end push. So we want to say a big welcome to everybody, and we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot to chat about, and joining me here today for this episode of Fundraise Up Learning Lab is Julia Beltran and Madison Gable. They are from the awesome partnerships team over at Double the Donation, pardon me. Julie and Madison, if you wouldn't mind just saying a big warm hello from Double the Donation to our attendees for Learning Lab.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nick. We're really excited to be here and talk a little bit more about, Double the Donations research and our 360 Match Pro integration. So we're really glad to show that off for you guys.
Excited to be
Awesome,
here as well.
fantastic. Awesome. Thank you both so much for being with us for Learning Lab. And as I mentioned, actually, I got a slide ahead of myself. For those of you who I haven't yet had the opportunity to meet, my name is Nick Miller. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Fundraise Up. You'll also notice on the screen that I've included my email address and also an invitation to connect with me on LinkedIn. I really like connecting with our customers on LinkedIn because it's a great way to stay in touch. And I always love to message our customers and say, hey, great job on that campaign that you just ran. And it's always neat to see the content that you post to LinkedIn as well. So please join me there. And if you have questions about today's Learning Lab episode or questions about Fundraise Up in general, you can email me at nick@fundraiseup.com. I mentioned a couple minutes ago that there may be some people joining us today that aren't yet familiar with Fundraise Up. And that's okay, because we're going to change that right here in this moment. What we have created is a better donation experience that helps you convert those website visitors to donors, get more donations, and increase monthly giving. We're able to accomplish this by leveraging technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science. And so if this is new to you and it sounds fascinating, again, please feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to set you up with a demo of Fundraise Up from our awesome success team. And with that said, I'm going to turn over the floor to Julia Beltran from Double the Donation, and we're going to dive in with company matching for stronger year-end giving.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nick. I'm going to go ahead and steal your screen over here. So, like Nick said, my name is Julia. I am a partnership success specialist over at Double the Donation. So that just means I work with our awesome partners like Fundraise Up to bring matching gift services and resources to their clients like you all. So again, thank you so much for having me on here today, Nick. I'm really happy to be here. And so just
Thank you.
getting into our agenda and what we're kind of going to discuss today. As you guys know, of course, the main focus of this webinar is growing matching gift revenue for your organization. And it is a really great time to be thinking about this as we approach the end of the year. Like Nick was saying, you guys are having a ton of donations that flooded in yesterday. And so kind of looking into how you can double those and get those donations matched as you close out, 2020, kind of end of the tax season, trying to get as many of those in as you can. So really great timing, really glad to have you guys all here. And so to kind of start that discussion, we want to go into a matching gifts industry review. So kind of where is the state of the industry right now? Obviously it's been a bit of a weird year for fundraising and everything else in general. And so just kind of covering where that's taken matching gifts, in the industry, where it kind of sits there. And then of course, we'll talk a bit about best practices because we don't have a lot of time left in 2021. So just kind of those year-end strategies to kind of get as many of those through the door as you can and then make them sustainable to go beyond into 2021. And then of course, we'll show off the 360 Match Pro and Fundraise Up integration demo. So 360 Match Pro is our automated matching gift service that allows you to kind of harness a lot of those matching gift donations. Definitely have those best practices as well, but 360 Match Pro kind of automates that and makes it a little more seamless for that. And then of course you'll have a chance to ask questions at the end. So feel free to put questions in the chat bar as we go along too as well, and we can cover them all at the end. So if you think of something, don't feel like you have to hold it. You can just put it in the chat bar and we'll address it after the presentation. And so I did want to give a bit of the context to the Fundraise Up and Double Donation partnership. So we've been partnered for a little while now, and through this agreement, through this partnership, Double Donation has been able to offer matching gift services to Fundraise Up clients. And so like Nick was saying, I'm sure a lot of people on this call right now work with Fundraise Up already and use their high converting, impressive platform. So then through this partnership, you can just add gift matching to that list of services and of things you're able to do with Fundraise Up. And so just to kind of summarize that, Double the Donation is a third-party company. It's outside of Fundraise Up, and it provides matching gift tools, which can then be integrated into the Fundraise Up platform to earn more in matching gifts. And so we're really happy to be able to work so closely with Fundraise Up and help, your client, you guys all take advantage of employer matching gifts. And so diving into our matching gift industry review, like I mentioned, is going to kind of provide the context to move forward and implement those best practices. So employer matching gifts are, of course, a form of corporate philanthropy. And they're actually very widespread. They're one of the most common forms of corporate philanthropy. And so many, organizations just offer matching gifts to their employees. It's similar to how they offer insurance. It's just part of the regular benefits package. And so, of course, they're exactly what they sound like. I know a lot of people are probably already familiar with them, but they do have a lot of different components. So, if a corporation has a matching gift program, and let's say like someone named Jenny works for the Home Depot and she donates $50 to your organization. She could then tell the Home Depot, hey, I donated $50 to this nonprofit, and the Home Depot will then send you an additional check of $50. They'll match that donation. And so, like I said, I know a lot of people already know that, but then there are kind of several components within matching gift programs as well. And so the first one I want to discuss is institution eligibility, because not all companies match donations to all nonprofits. So, for example, sometimes you see religious or political organizations being ineligible for corporate funds, but can be discrepancies even within that. So, like, for example, some corporations won't match to a church, like just a church, but if that church has a soup kitchen or maybe some kind of, thrift store or something like that, they'll match to that fund. So it can get a little complicated when you have all these different like eligibility aspects with matching gift programs, because they do vary by corporation to corporation. And kind of on the flip side of that, some corporations will actually match donations at a higher ratio or rate to nonprofits that they have a really close connection with or some kind of established relationship with. So the matching gift programs that your organization qualifies for just really depends on the corporation that your donors work for. It's not necessarily like a universal standard or anything like that. So with that being said, I will say that the vast majority of these programs match to all nonprofits, with the only exceptions being political and some aspects of religious organizations. And so the next kind of component of matching gifts is the matching gift ratio. And so not all organizations have the exact same match ratio. Not all of them are one-to-one. Most of them, I will say, are probably one-to-one. Like that example I gave, someone gives $50, they'll get $50. But we also sometimes see 2-to-1 or even 3-to-1 ratios, just depending on how robust that program is. So that can also sometimes vary based on the donor's employment status. So maybe a part-time employee will receive a 1-to-1 match, but a full-time will receive 2-to-1. So that can kind of be an aspect within that as well. And then the third item we have here is employee eligibility. Kind of similar to what I was saying before, some employees will match only gifts from full-time employees, and that's kind of actually becoming more rare. We're seeing more and more programs improve. And most companies, I say, would match to part-time employees' donations as well as full-time, and then some even match retirees or spouses of current or retired employees, some of the more robust programs. And then number 4, every program does set a minimum and maximum donation amount that they will match to. So again, these parameters will vary depending on the program. I would say most set their minimums between $1 and $100. That's the lower side of that. Most common minimum by far is around $25, I would say. And then maximums can range between $1,000 and $15,000. I would say the most Fortune 500 level corporations come in around $10,000 for the maximum they're willing to match. And then number 5, this one's very important. There's always some sort of timeline or expiration dates that surround matching gift requests. So most companies will give their employee maybe a year after donation to submit their request to be matched. Others have specific dates, often timed, of course, around the end of the calendar year, end of the tax season. It just kind of depends. There's not always a set time that your organization will receive the matching gift fund. It can vary just depending on that organization and how their timeline is. So I know that's a lot of information and a lot of squishy information, but we will discuss a lot more about how to track those metrics and kind of figure out where your organization falls within all of these different components of matching gift programs. And so now I want to get into a bit more of the matching gift prevalence, because I know I just said, matching gifts are the most common form of corporate philanthropy, and they're actually a much larger industry than most people and most nonprofits realize. Well over half of Fortune 500 companies offer matching gift programs, and that, of course, means that millions and millions of donors are eligible for these matching gift funds. And so that means if you have donors who work for any one of these Fortune 500 companies or just large corporations outside of the Fortune 500 that offer these programs, then you could very easily double your donations without asking them for more of their own dollars. And I know kind of the first question right now with everything going on that you think is, how is the pandemic affecting this fundraising? Are matching gift programs still prevalent? Have things been slashed from budgets? Well, we've actually seen the opposite. We've seen, huge corporations expanding their matching gift programs in response to COVID-19. And by doing that, they're, increasing maximums that they're willing to donate to. They're increasing ratios. We've seen a lot go from 1-to-1 to 2-to-1 matching gift ratios. I've seen a lot of big players like Apple and Google, Microsoft, General Mills all expanding their programs. And when you think about it, it does make a lot of sense, because during a lot of economic downturns, corporations of this caliber can really benefit from corporate philanthropy. Of course, these are, really big organizations that are offering these programs. And so, with right now, people are being really selective on how they spend their dollar, and CSR is something that that consumer is really considering. So, in the wake of something like this, a lot of huge companies are willing to donate more and expand these CSR programs to nonprofits um, to be able to kind of make up for that, to kind of address that gap there. And so, we've definitely seen these parameters expand. Um, and so, it's a really easy way for them to improve corporate philanthropy efforts that they're having. And now, despite this being this giant industry with these improving programs, a lot of organizations are still really missing out on employer matching gifts. And by that, I mean they're missing out on billions and billions of dollars. We see $4 to $7 billion in matching gift revenue that just goes completely unclaimed each year. And so when you kind of think about that in regards to your organization, it's a bit shocking to know that these programs are designed specifically for you. They're offering, these funds for your organization, but most organizations are missing out on that cash. They're not fully taking advantage of it. So why the discrepancy? Why is there billions of dollars that's not being claimed, by organizations? Well, if the donor wants to get their gift matched, then they do have to submit a matching gift request to their employer, kind of like that example I gave before. If Jenny donates to your organization, she has to tell her employer, the Home Depot, that she made that contribution, show proof of purchase. Um, and so once they, tell their employer, of course, and they would then have to show proof of that and then get the request approved, and that's when the organization would receive the matching gift fund. And so that second step of the donor submitting a matching gift request to their employer, that's where the problem lies. That's what we're seeing the discrepancy on. So donors just consistently are not submitting their matching gift requests because they don't know about their matching gift programs. Like I was saying before, Double Donation does a lot of matching gift industry research, and we consistently see close to 80% of match eligible donors having no idea whether their employer offers a matching gift program. Usually they don't even know really what that is or what, what we're talking about when it comes to matching gifts. And so that leaves, less than 10% of match eligible donors actually submitting their matching gift request to their employer. And so that lack of donor action is actually really a lack of awareness. Even if your donors know that matching programs exist, they probably don't understand the steps that they have to take to get their matching gift requests. They don't really know kind of where they fit into that picture of corporate philanthropy and matching gifts. So it's not that your donors don't want to be getting you these extra funds, it's that they don't even know that that's an option, that it's something they can do. And so this kind of idea that donors want to submit a matching gift request, but they don't really know how, is really exemplified through a lot of the other research we do at Double the Donation. If you look at these three statistics I have here, you'll see that donors are much more likely to donate if their gifts are matched. They're more likely to respond to fundraising appeals if they know their gifts are matched. And of course, they're likely to donate even more money if they know their gift will be matched. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, because these are people who are connected and committed to your cause. Obviously they care enough to give some of their own dollars to the cause you're fundraising for. they're going to be happy knowing they gave a contribution to the cause they care about and that it can actually be increased at no extra cost to them. That's, of course, something that they're going to be interested in and want to take advantage of. And so, as nonprofit organizations, I think it's really important that you take steps to address these awareness issues, because if you do, you can end up raising a lot more money for your mission. I mean, think of how many of your donors work for these organizations. And especially if you're getting kind of bigger gifts, especially right now at the end of the year, that if someone has a maximum of $15,000 that their corporation's willing to match, you could just double that donation without any extra work or asking for any donations. And so there are a lot of different ways you can take advantage of these programs. And of course, some are better than others. So the great news is that number one, the methods have always been very encouraging for donors and basically all online. So our best practices really haven't changed much with pandemic restrictions or anything like that. And then number two, these changes do, of course, take a bit of time and effort to coordinate, but certainly not enough to hinder you as you wrap up 2021. You still have a month left. That's certainly something you can be pushing your donors towards as we wrap up the year. And so kind of jumping into these methods of what's proven to be the best practices to pursue matching gift donations. The first one I want to discuss involves educating your donors, of course, because like I mentioned before, that's really the major roadblock when it comes to receiving corporate matching gifts. And so an easy and effective way to do that involves putting some kind of matching gift information or like short blurb directly in the donation process. There's kind of several reasons for this method. The first being that matching gift requests, like I mentioned, are time sensitive. So the sooner you encourage a donor to submit their gift, the better. And of course, during the donation is the earliest possible time that they could learn about a matching gift request for that contribution. And then kind of in that same vein, educating donors during the donation process really allows you to target them while they're still in that giving mindset, because they just chose to donate to you. They're still paying attention to your messaging. They're feeling really connected and committed to this cause that you serve. So it's definitely a good mindset to target them for matching gifts. And then, of course, by placing this in a streamlined way, you want to make sure to not actually disrupt from the donation flow process. We know that as nonprofit organizations, it's very important, of course, that the donation is submitted. That's, really number one step. So you want to kind of be sleek and just place that information. Hey, you can be eligible for a matching gift request. This is something you can look into in a really frictionless way while still capturing their attention in that giving headspace. So then moving on to best practice number two. So this strategy involves email outreach. We recommend using communication strategies to educate donors after the donation process as well. That certainly applies to all of those gifts that you just received from Giving Tuesday and the previous part of the giving season this past month. And so that's also because sometimes donors don't completely read donation forms. Even if you include information during the donation process, donors might not take action. They might have that one, they want to submit the donation. That's what they're focused on. They might not be looking into matching gifts at that time. And that's especially true, I think, because of that awareness gap that we discussed earlier. If a donor is skimming through the donation page and they've never heard of matching gifts, then there's a chance that they don't really think that applies to them, or maybe they've kind of heard of that, but that's not really something that they think they fit into in that space. So these emails kind of give them a second opportunity to learn more about gift matching and allow you to target donors that have previously already donated. And so you can include a lot of different information in these messages. You could include statistics or maybe easy links. Double Donation has a huge educational hub. If you just search Double Donation statistics or resources or anything like that, you can see all kinds of stuff like top matching gift companies. All of the statistics I've shared today, it's really a huge hub that you can include information on that in your emails. And so we've also found that kind of, the best time to send these emails is after the donation process, but not immediately after. I know that might seem like kind of a strange distinction, but there is a reason for that. So after the donation process, many donors assume they're going to receive some kind of confirmation email or a receipt of some kind. And so they might not open that email or really think it requires any action. They just kind of view it as a proof of purchase, of course. So even though you want to target donors pretty soon after the donation process, while they're still in that giving headspace, you do want to give them a bit of time so that they're not just discarding that matching gift email as part of their confirmation. And so these messages do also kind of give you the opportunity to include more information than you might on your giving form, like I was saying, because of that kind of streamlined information you're leaving there. So you can provide the donor with more information about giving programs in this strategy. That's a really big benefit of that. And of course, there's a lot of different systems you can use to take advantage of this to automate emails. I'm sure you probably have a pretty, robust strategy in place if you're already doing Giving Tuesday initiatives. And we can discuss that a bit more too later on. But depending on the size of your organization and kind of what data you have on hand, you can definitely tailor some of these. Maybe if you already have some employer information captured, you can include that in your email. So really being able to personalize them just depending on your current strategies and the data you have can be really helpful. So just to kind of summarize that best practice strategy, we recommend creating an additional educational initiative to inform donors and kind of encourage them to take action after the donation process as well as during. And so the next strategy I want to talk about today is creating a matching gift page for your website. So this web page can be super simple. It's just a spot on your website dedicated to matching gift information. We typically recommend placing these with your ways to give type pages so that it's really easy to find when donors are kind of poking around on your website. And so I know I keep stressing that lack of awareness that surrounds gift matching, but having these multiple avenues to educate donors can be really beneficial in receiving matching gift funds. And of course, this page can tell not only donors, the people that recently donated, but also, all visitors that are looking into your website that are maybe trying to learn more about your organization. And that's also a really great strategy because 84% of donors are actually more likely to donate if they know that their gifts can be matched. We kind of went over some similar statistics in the beginning. People really like knowing that their contributions can go further at no extra cost to them, unsurprisingly. And then also, donors who maybe got matching gift information during the donation or maybe right after, they're going to want to look into that. Some of them might have never heard of that before and they're searching for more matching gift information. And so having a resource they can turn to, maybe they type in the name of your organization and then gift matching and you have a page right there, that makes them feel obviously a bit more trusting in the process, a bit more understanding of like, oh yeah, this really is something that I can do. I can submit my request. They already know about it. Like it really helps kind of reassure the donor and give them a spot to return to. And it makes sure that they stay focused on your organization. You don't want them searching for matching gifts and spiraling down some kind of rabbit hole and not really connecting it to your organization anymore. So that's a kind of another benefit of having these pages. And so just to kind of summarize everything I just said, I just want to stress the importance of, educating donors, whether they're in that donation process or not. And then a great way to do that is through a dedicated gift matching page on your website that can kind of explain those steps and give them some more context to that process. All right, and then our final gift matching best practice strategy is tracking your data. So, now you have some steps, some ideas about kind of how to start a gift matching program, how to get going with that. And so we want to make sure that plan is really effective and sustainable. And so we found kind of three main important metrics, I think, to track that we've seen a lot of success with our clients. And that's the number of match eligible donors, the number of total match donations, and then of course the total amount of revenue that you can earn from gift matching. So I want to kind of talk about the value of each one of these and how they kind of impact your matching gift efforts. So first we have match eligible donations. So I'm sure your nonprofit fundraises through a lot of different methods. And of course that kind of takes time and effort to coordinate. And so especially if you're planning this into 2021 and beyond, knowing that you have donors that are eligible for matching gifts can be a really effective way to kind of advocate for this strategy and then recognize that it fits into your fundraising plan well. Like I was saying too, Double Donation has all these hubs of the best matching gift programs. So maybe if even a lot of your donors are focused in one area and a lot of people in that area work for X, Y, or Z corporation or a certain industry or something like that, you can really target them and figure out, okay, yeah, a lot of our donors work for Microsoft or work for these tech companies, either kind of summarizing them. So doing a little research there can be really effective to see how that fits into your fundraising goals. And then the next one is total number of match donations. So once you started to, of course, push your donors to consider submitting matching gift requests, you want to kind of delve into what strategies are working and what aren't, of course. So kind of tracking the total number of match donations as you start pushing these strategies is, of course, the easiest way to kind of see how that percentage is checking out and see how people are responding to your matching gift efforts. And then, of course, the third metric is total revenue from gift matching. That is the high-level million-dollar question. We've seen matching gifts turn into one of the most significant sources of revenue for different nonprofits. And of course, that's vital information to know as you plan kind of where your budgeting is and where you're going with your 2021 plans and everything like that. So now that you know a whole lot more about gift matching, I think we should discuss a bit of the Double the Donation matching gift integration with Fundraise Up. So I'm just going to show you a quick demo so you can see how our tool will automate some of those practices that I just discussed. I'll show you a live demo of the actual tool on Fundraise Up pages, but before I get started, I do want to kind of go over the tools and explain some more specific steps, just so when I'm pulling it up, you can kind of orient yourself to what you're looking at, what you should be looking for, and kind of the value of each one of those things, of course. So that's what I was just, the process really begins on the giving form, where the donor can make a gift, identify their corporate match eligibility directly on the form. And then 360 Match Pro will automatically send matching gift emails and information to donors, delivering either next steps or eligibility, just depending on kind of where they are in that process. And then, of course, 360 Match Pro tracks a lot of actionable analytics that would be sent back to your organization and checked out through your 360 Match Pro portal. So, like I was saying, that process really starts on the giving form by identifying employer eligibility or donor eligibility through their employer. So to do that, there's a streamlined search field that will just auto-complete the donor's entry as they're filling out their donation form. So it's really easy for them to just input the name of their employer while they're filling out all those other fields on your donation form. It's a very natural, user experience. Um, and this form does account for subsidiaries, parent companies, things like that. So I'll kind of show you how that works, that even if they make a typo or maybe a branch of a company, it will still route them to the correct matching gift program. And so then after the matching gift process, once the donor fills out all that information, they will receive a follow-up email that encourages them to take those matching gift next steps. And so if they did use that tool on the donation form, like let's say they typed in the Home Depot, they'll receive a email similar to the one you see on their screen that says, hey, your gift is eligible for a match from the Home Depot. Here's a direct link to the Home Depot's matching gift form, so you can just click that and fill it out. And then it'll give more specific information as well. So that's just kind of a second touch point that we have to make sure that donors are really learning more about matching gifts and able to have that direct link, and see their matching gift forms. And then even if the donor does not interact with that tool, so like let's say they just filled out the entire donation form and they skipped over that field because they're trying to get their donation submitted, they can still receive those follow-up messages. They're just a little bit less tailored, of course. So they might say something like, hey, we really appreciate your support. Have you ever heard of employer gift matching? Here's what it is. You might be eligible. And then instead of having a direct link to, the employer, the actual submission form to submit the matching gift request, this just has a link where they can search once again for the name of their employer and then still get that matching gift request link. So again, this is just another touch point. And like I was saying before, many donors are eligible for matching gifts and they don't know it. So they might kind of see that on the donation form, skip right over it, but then they can still be targeted in outreach post transaction. And then finally, the 360 Match Pro portal, of course, tracks a lot of metrics about the matching gift process. And that's all, easily accessible and navigable for your organization. So we're going to check that out as well, kind of see what these metrics are that they track, kind of how they look, how to navigate that dashboard, and kind of where your organization fits into all that data. And of course, we do have some matching gift page offerings. So 360 Match Pro does give you the option to put that streamlined search field directly on your website as well. So that's something that you can do if you want to kind of capture website visitors who are maybe checking out your website. They want to see if they're eligible for a matching gift request. They can go ahead, enter the name of their employer, and then still see that direct link to go over to their matching gift submission form. And so let's see a demo. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a donation page. Can you guys see that okay? Yep,
Yes,
looks
it
good.
looks great.
So Nick actually made me this Fundraise up donation page, and I love it. This is the Cat Rescue Club page. This is our mock organization that we're going to donate to today. And so I'm going to make a $100 one-time donation and keep my one-time gift credit card. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with kind of how these donation forms look already. You very well might have one. And so this is kind of just the donor perspective that I'm showing you here. This is not anything, a lot of things don't change about the donation process. So like I said, probably looks pretty familiar. We're going to have our example donor, Jenny Taylor, coming in. And then I'm just going to use a demo email address. Sure it's unique. And so I'm going to submit all of kind of her personal information there. And then here is the 360 Match Pro section. This is probably the thing you haven't seen before if you're not currently using our integration. So again, she's kind of already entered all of her information. She's already gotten that out of the way. It's not blocking that process. If she wants to just skip to the next step, she can. But she can just kind of read a quick blurb about employer gift matching. And then of course she's going to work for the Home Depot. So you'll notice that if she starts to type it in wrong, like she gives 2 E's, that still comes up. You'll also notice that it says the Home Depot, which is the actual corporation's name. So let's say she types that in, that will still come up as well. Or let's say for some reason she's calling it Depot, and that's what she wants to do, that will still come up as an option. And then kind of similar to what I was saying before with something like ESPN, which is owned by the Walt Disney Corporation, that's who runs ESPN's, matching gift programs, that would come up as a suggestion, with the expectation, of course, that they would know the Walt Disney Corporation is what owns their company, and I'm sure they would. So that's something to just kind of make sure they're being mapped to the correct matching gift information. And all of these companies come from Double the Donations database, which is a very extensive database. I think there's around 20,000 entries in it. And there's an update being made, something insane like every 15 seconds or something like that. So it's a very large, source of information. And that's kind of our main thing that we're able to provide for people, is having all of that matching gift information with all of those different components that I was talking about before, like minimums, maximums, eligibility. We're kind of able to sort through all that. So that the donor can just type in the name of their employer, select it, and then be given the correct information post-transaction. So we're going to go ahead and have her submitted. And then this is the confirmation screen. What's really great about this integration is she was already able to read a bit about employer gift matching. So she kind of knows why they're asking for that information. This isn't like a totally, foreign concept for her. So if you give me 1 second, I'm going to go ahead and pull up Jenny's email so that I can show you. Just refresh it here, the email that was just sent post-transaction. Okay, here we are. Sorry, I have too many screens. Whenever we have that, I'm sure everyone can relate to this. Okay, so we see it's 106. She covered that processing fee there. It says, "Dear Jenny, we're so excited to let you know that your donation is eligible for a matching gift from the Home Depot." So this is something that you can see is obviously branded to Cat Rescue Club. So even though 360 Match Pro, automates these emails, it's not like they're controlling your brand's voice or your messaging or anything like that. That's all totally configurable. I'll go through that once I pull up the dashboard. But this is just an example of an email that your donor might receive after entering that company information during the donation process. So it is nice and personalized. You can get matching gift requests from the Home Depot. Kind of the really main value add here, I think, is this button to click here and start the matching gift submission process. So when you click here, it actually takes you to the Home Depot's portal, where of course the donor would recognize how to log in and how to access that information. Some of them it links to a PDF or just some kind of form that they're supposed to fill out. It depends on how that organization structures their matching gift program, which again is a really nice aspect of that you don't have to kind of research like, okay, I know I have a donor who works for the Home Depot. How is she supposed to do this and take these next steps? This just automatically routes you to the correct form that their organization asks that they fill out. You'll also see a button here, I've submitted my matching gift request. So like I was saying before, these programs are all very different. So some of them pay out at different times. It might be a month before the Home Depot has a deadline that they're going to submit this matching gift request. And so the donor can actually click this button and indicate to you that they've submitted their request. We also have some new features that allow you when they click this button here that it gives you kind of a notification in your dashboard that, okay, they've initiated some kind of matching gift process that they're looking around there. You can also see that this email has some kind of descriptions about the Home Depot's matching gift programs. You can see, yes, they are offered. Here's the minimum, here's the maximum, the ratio, who is eligible for these programs. So these emails do kind of have a wealth of information about the specific matching gift program. You can see I keep going. There's contact information if they have questions. So all really tailored, of course, to the Home Depot itself. Like I was mentioning before, if Jenny had just filled that out and had skipped that step, she would still get an email. It would just say, hey, have you ever heard of employer matching gifts? She would click on this button here, and then she'd be able to search for the name of her employer. And so that's kind of the outreach section that we have in terms of the emails that go out after. So I'm going to pull up the dashboard. So here, I'm going to click actually to our main page. This is our Cat Rescue Club demo dashboard. So none of these stats are actually, really necessarily reflective of an organization, because this is just kind of our demo mock dashboard we have here. But you can see a lot of really valuable numbers. So you can see the total number of donations, the amounts that are identified as match eligible, the amount of people opening the emails that we're sending out. So you really get a lot of information from within this portal. There's different charts you can check out. There's donor engagement. So there's really a wealth of information there that you can see about your donors. I think kind of one of the most important aspects is this donations tab on the left here. So you can see Jenny Taylor just made a donation for $106. Of course, this is the one I just filled out. You can see the company that she entered on the actual form itself. And then here is the status. So waiting for donor just means that we know she's match eligible. We know that that's, there's an action she can take. We are waiting for something to happen because she said she worked for the Home Depot. And so she hasn't taken any action yet. Like I was saying, she didn't click on any of those forms to submit a request. She didn't indicate that she had submitted a request. We're still waiting for her to take some sort of action here. You can see, of course, the campaign that it's set up on, and then each donation has a unique identifier so that if you want to later export them or sort them in some kind of way, you can do things like that. You'll also notice this kind of emails tab right here. So of course, we just opened that email that was sent to Jenny, so we can see that yes, she has checked it out, but we're waiting for a donor. That can, of course, be helpful when maybe you see one that's closed and it says waiting for a donor, so we know they haven't received the message yet. You can also see, of course, ones that haven't been opened. Sometimes you can see ones that are scheduled to be sent. They'll kind of appear as like a shadow of an envelope that will show up here. So that's kind of all the information that's shown on the donation tab. And of course, if you, like, let's just say it says waiting for donor because they contacted their organization and you still get a check, but they didn't indicate that, you can change these statuses for your own tracking purposes. So that's something that can be, manually customized. Same with if you want to change the employer you see here. If you want to maybe get some more information, this is all the information she received in the email. That's all available for you within your matching gift portal as well. So
Julia,
something I want to,
jumping in real quick,
oh yeah,
and sorry to interrupt. I saw we had a
no,
question come through from Katie. She's asking, what does MG and VG mean in the dashboard?
MG and VG. Sorry, can you point me to where you're talking about?
That's a good question. Katie, if you wouldn't mind jumping back into the chat and letting us
Sorry, I'm
know
sure
where
I
you
know.
saw
I
that. She
just need
says,
to.
yeah, she says it's under company.
Company. Oh yes. So here, matching gift that's just showing that the forms are available. So like when I click on this,
Oh,
I'm able to
okay.
see the matching gift and giving form. So like let's just say that the
Oh,
status
okay.
was ineligible, like they worked for a company like Amazon who does not have a matching gift program, then that would show no matching gift program, no forms, but it would still say Amazon. So that's just kind of indicating, that this is something with a matching gift program and with the forms available. Or like, let's just say they'd have to submit it. For some reason, we don't have access to the forms they submitted to. They have to contact someone. Then it would say matching gifts. So that's a great question.
I
Yeah, that's
see.
just kind of indicating
I
that.
see. And Katie's adding in there that they also have a tag in there under company that says VG. So if we could just confirm what
The
what
tag
that
under
stands for as
company.
well.
Sorry, I want to make
We have
sure I'm looking at the right
MG.
here. MG right here.
Yes. Yeah, and it sounds like in Katie's account, they also have a tag
Oh,
that says VG.
that's a great question. I'd have to look at your specific account and kind of see maybe what companies we're looking at. But I can definitely make a note that you're asking that question and reach out to you personally for VG. Like I said, I'd have to kind of look at it and see what company we're seeing, but that's a great question. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, and it looks like we also have a question or maybe a matching donor donation issue from Aaron. So Aaron will be sure to tackle that on our side with the help of the Double the Donation team. We have a really great relationship with their support team, so we'll get that ironed out for you, Aaron.
Yeah, most definitely. We'll take a note of anything you guys ask that you want us to address after and be sure that we follow up after the webinar itself. But these are great questions. Thank you guys. Definitely keep them rolling in. I wanted to go ahead too and just cover really quick this tab that says automated outreach. So you'll see, match eligible, unknown company, ineligible, all these kind of different sub tabs here. So those of course correspond to, the donor status. Are they match eligible for a donation? Do we not know what company they worked for? Do we know what they worked for, but they're not eligible? Those are kind of these different tabs here. And so this allows you to customize the text that you saw in that email I sent out. It also allows you to enable or disable them. You'll see here too, this kind of section that says send email after however many hours. That kind of goes back to that concept I was talking about before of wanting to make sure that, these emails aren't just disregarded as some kind of receipt or something like that. Of course, this is a demo account, so we have 0 hours because we want to make sure those emails are coming right after the donation process, that we're not all sitting around waiting for those to come in. But we typically recommend about an hour after the donation is a good time to make sure people have already seen their confirmation and they can kind of expect a whole new email with a call to action there. So that's something you can customize there. Like I said, you can also customize the text here. You can preview a form available and maybe send it to yourself if you want to check it out. And so there's also, of course, streams for like follow-up emails that maybe 3 days later you want to send a follow-up to those people who did not interact with the first email. You can configure that as well. Or you can turn that off. You don't need to be sending follow-up emails. It's really just up to you and how you want to handle that. And then, of course, final emails if you want like one last push or something like that. And so that's kind of how you handle the text and cadence and whether they're on or not. We also have a different section here under email settings where you can configure like, let's just say you have a lot of recurring donors. So you might want to send only like 2 emails every month or something like that to recurring donors because you don't want them, if they're sending 5 donations to your organization a month, you don't necessarily want to be sending them 5 matching gift emails. So you can kind of change that as well. We also have some sections here where you can configure the email appearance. So remember, I was saying this is obviously very branded to the Cat Rescue Club because that's kind of our mock organization that we use for all of these demos. So you could certainly upload your logo. You could upload different theme colors, different headers, be able to display donor actions as steps, put redirect pages if you want to maybe take them to your matching gift submission page that I discussed before. So there's really a lot of opportunities to make sure that these emails are looking the way you want them to. Of course, you want your donors to be seeing stuff that they know comes from your organization. Kind of in that same vein, you can also configure these emails to come from your own organization's email address so that it's not just saying from double the donation or something like that. So those are kind of all options as well. So I'm going to go back to the donation dashboard. So we have about 15 minutes left for questions and anything like that. You can go ahead and stop screen sharing for one moment to pull up our questions tab. So I know we had a couple flowing in kind of during the presentation as we were going, but I'd love to hear any more questions you might have, anything you think of just now about matching gifts or the integration in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Aaron and Katie, we're going to get those two questions that you brought up addressed. In fact, Aaron, I just messaged Natasha about the double donation thing, so we're already getting the ball rolling on that for you. But absolutely, if you guys have questions about how this integration works or some best practices around it, please feel free to drop them into the chat. What I love about what Julia's just shown us is we have taken a little bit of a peek into how customizable the integration is from your double the donation dashboard. And so you're not just stuck with, say, like a cookie cutter email and brand colors that you can't set. All of these options are available from the double the donation account dashboard. So you can include your brand's logo, imagery, copy, colors, everything you need to make these emails look and feel like your organization. It's all possible through that dashboard. And I see James jumping in here saying, "Go Gators, Julia." So
Oh yes, go Gators, of course. Love to see other alumni. That's awesome.
yes, awesome. And it looks like we have another question here from Katie. Katie says, "Can you share a best practice if you see in your dashboard that a donor works for a company and is eligible for match, but they haven't responded to any of the emails? Is it appropriate to call and reach out one last time?"
I think that's a great question, Katie. So I think one really good feature about the dashboard is that you can see whether those emails are being opened or not. And that can kind of sometimes give you an indication of where the donor stands with that outreach. Because unfortunately, there are certainly people who will read stuff like that and they're not taking the next steps. I do think that's a definitely least kind of common scenario that we see. But if they're opening all the emails, then you might know, okay, they're getting these messages and they're just not responding to them. Whereas maybe they've opened one but not the other two, or haven't opened any of them. I know plenty of donors, when they fill things out, they might kind of put like an email address that's not very active. They're not putting their kind of main personal one. They'll put like a one they use for receipts. So yeah, I think that that's really appropriate to reach out and say, hey, I noticed you haven't seen any of these messages, or maybe you haven't seen all of them. So just kind of checking in and seeing if that's something they're interested in. So yeah, that's a great question. I think utilizing that feature of whether they're kind of using those emails and checking them out is a great way to kind of gauge their interest and how they're feeling about that.
Absolutely. And the good news that's a little unique to the fundraising industry is that there's really nothing wrong with continuing to invite your donors into the opportunity to show support until they give you a hard no and say, unsubscribe. They reply to your email, they say unsubscribe. You call them and they say, I'm not interested, because you're not, peddling a service, you're not peddling a product, you're inviting them into a philanthropic moment. So even if they have opened those emails and not responded to them, it's absolutely okay to pick up the phone, call them and say, hey, did you know that the donation you just made through our website can be doubled by your employer? It's a really great opportunity. Absolutely.
I think that's a great point too. And kind of what I was saying earlier, that some donors might, maybe they see the emails and that they know they're eligible, but they just don't really like understand that process. Like I was saying, a lot of people have never heard of this before. They wanted to make a donation and now they're like, what do you mean my company offers a matching gift program? And I've never heard of a matching gift program. And of course, too, like these are people that wanted to donate to your organization. They're not people that, are not interested in your cause or don't care about it. They're already giving their money there. So yeah, I definitely think reaching out is a great way to kind of make sure that they see those matching gift messaging.
Yes. And Julia, you've brought up another key point that I wanted to circle back on, and you've just reminded me of it. But before I jump in on that, again, for those of you who have joined us here for today's webinar, if you have questions about best practices with our integration with Double the Donation, please feel free to drop them into the chat at this point. And if you do have questions that come up later, you can email me, and you'll also have access to our great friends at Double the Donation. We, like I said earlier, have a great relationship with their support team and can make sure that you're well taken care of. The point that Julia made earlier earlier in the presentation that I think is so important is that a lot of your donors who are giving to your organization don't realize that the employer that they're working for has a matching gift program. And so we at the beginning of the presentation kind of talked about some of the pain points that get in the way of a donor having their gift matched. And what we're able to do through this integration with Double the Donation is remove that friction. And so by adding this company matching element into the donation process, even if your donor who's an employee doesn't know that their employer will match the gift, the system's automatically going to search for it. And like Julia said earlier, even if they skip over the company matching section, there's still an opportunity for them to get an email that says, hey, let's take a look and see if your company will match this. And the key to all of this, in my opinion, is that it's all happening automatically. This is all happening on your behalf thanks to this platform from Double the Donation. You're not having to manually look up companies and see if they'll match the donations from your donors. We're leveraging the Double the Donation database, which, as Julia said, is, I think you said it's updated, what, every 15 seconds or something like
Yes, it's
that.
very up to
And
date.
so, yeah, exactly. So you have this massive list of companies that will match your donors' donations, and you really don't have to have much intervention there.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's a really great way to engage your donors in the act of corporate philanthropy. And harkening back to the entire premise of what we want to be able to share with you today, this is the perfect tool to have in place as we head into year-end fundraising. And December 31st is really not that far away. I cannot believe that we're already here in December. So today is December 2nd. And so if you're not yet leveraging corporate matching using this Double the Donation integration with Fundraise Up, let's get started. And so if you're an existing customer and you're not using this yet, let's get it set up, because it really is as easy as checking a box in your account to get started with this. And if you're using Double the Donation right now, but maybe saw some things in the dashboard today that you haven't looked at yet, let's also address those. And as you know, as customers of Fundraise Up, you have an incredible support team here at the company. And whether you work with Anthony or Natasha or Natalie or anybody else here on the team, we're here to make sure that by the time that December 31st rolls around, it's 11:59 p.m., that you have gotten incredible support from your donors, and that support has been doubled by the employers that your donors work for. So many exciting things possible with this integration. And again, it's all thanks to the partnership that we've been able to build out with Double the Donation. Again, if you have any questions right now about how we can best leverage this, please feel free to drop them into the chat. But other than that, Julia, unless you have some closing thoughts on the integration here or best practices, I think we have the opportunity to wrap up a few minutes early and get back to fundraising.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely appreciate you going over, all those different aspects because it is really important, I think, like you were saying, as we kind of approach year-end fundraising, because of course you can, research who your donors all work for and then figure out kind of what those specific aspects of their matching gift programs are, like the minimums, the maximums, the deadlines, and then kind of target your outreach based on that. But that is really time consuming. Don't get me wrong, it's very possible. It's something that you can do and find a lot of profit in. But I think kind of as you're wrapping up year-end strategies, it is nice to be able to have that database of information. And like I was saying, we've compiled that from a lot of different sources. A lot of programs kind of outsource their matching gift programs and how those work. And so we have relationships with those people. We have relationships with a lot of community relations departments. And we talk to a lot of nonprofits and donors and corporations themselves to kind of compile all of that information. That's really the main I think value add there is being able to provide people with that direct link and with all of that information so that your organization doesn't have to track that. They don't have to know, exactly what organization all your donors work for to see if they're eligible. They can just kind of provide them with that link in that search bar. So yeah, definitely thanks for going over that. And I think that that's, really valuable for all of our clients. And really what we're trying to help everyone do is ease that process there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So on that beautiful final note, I want to say a big thank you again to everybody who joined us for today's episode of Fundraise Up Learning Lab. Again, I know Giving Tuesday was yesterday, and maybe you're energized from yesterday's fundraising performance, and maybe you're just darn tired at this point and ready to take a little break. So we're glad you were able to join us for today's episode. Again, if you have questions about what you've seen today, feel free to email me. We'll also make sure that you have the opportunity to connect with the team at Double the Donation. Make sure you have everything you need to have a really successful December fundraising push. Thanks so much, everybody. Julia, Madison, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
All right. Until next time, everyone. Take care.